Lingy, another transfer window has just come to a close. How would you assess it?
Yeah, it's been an hectic one. You know, it was probably the busiest one that I've had to deal with since the one when I first come in, when we was with no players right that first season. There's been 15 signings, so it's been a real hectic one, but I think it's been a very productive one. Uh, when you look back at it, we ain't going to really know the true answers, you know, come the end of the season. But for what I look at and look at the players that we brought in, I do feel there's been an uplift for our squad.
Yeah, I mean 15, as you say, and some players of real high calibre have come in, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, they say the budget this year was 30% up from last season, so it's allowed us to delve into players that were unattainable before. You know, people like Aaron Connolly, Josh Karoma, to name but two, Idi El Mizuni. There would have been players that we wouldn't have been able to. There would be players that we wouldn't have been able to fetch into the football club before, but with the uplift in the budget, has allowed us to go and get them type of players, and it'll be good for the football club in the future to have some players that are here a bit longer term as well.
One of the most important signings that I'm sure you'll agree, and I know all the fans will agree, is we tied Richie Wellins down to another long-term deal. How important was that for us?
But for me, it was massive. You know, when it was talked about at board level, I said that for me, he's the most important component of this football club. And you talk about a window, that where we've been able to fetch it a better quality of player. I think some of that's down to what the players knowing what Richie's about, what Richie's teams are about, and how successful Richie's been at this football club. So for me, it was a no-brainer when Richie bought, to come into the project for longer term. I was delighted as a director of football. That is the most important component, and an understanding between myself and Richie as well, which works well. So for me, it's allowed us to be where we are at this moment in time, and we know that for the rest of the season we'll be able to push on because we know how Richie gets his teams going, and I'm sure that upturn in form, we ain't been drastic, but that upturn in form will come once the players start to understand what Richie really wants.
What does that tell people about what Richie thinks of the club as well, that he's chosen to commit himself for another 3 years?
Yeah, look, let's be honest about it. Richie's stock as a manager is risen since he's been here, and I'm sure there would have been options for Richie to take away from his football club. But Richie sees that it's a project. I think with David Gandler coming in and the talk of how to make the club into a championship club is exciting, and Richie wanted to be part of that project. I mean, we ain't going to do that tomorrow. There ain't going to be a new stadium tomorrow. There ain't going to be a new set of players that are going to go straight into the championship. But the process has started, the process about getting a new stadium, and I say Richie's bought into that side of the project, and I've been associated with the club, too long, since 1996 on and off, and this is the most excited that I've been, especially when I look at the plans, because we cannot be a championship club in this stadium, in terms of a championship club that can sustain itself. We need to make it a bigger stadium. I've heard it so many times in that 30-year period, but I actually believe it now. For the first time, I can actually believe and see the project that's been put in place. I can see that coming and happening, and that's you want to believe it all the way through, but now there's real evidence, and I know with David behind it driving it, we're a club that's on the up.
The squad did so well last season. Lots of those players aren't here anymore, so it was a big job this summer. What were the aims from a recruitment point of view?
The aims was to make the squad as good as last year, if not better than last year. And do we want to be in future years turning around 60% of our squad? No, that's what it's been. We took 15 in, and I think we got 12 from last year. That's wild, way too much. It's a case of we talked about the way of reducing the number of turnover. Is that there's two ways really. One is to come away from everybody getting a 2-year contract, which used to be the case. So then you're going to be losing 50% of your squad every year. It's obvious if everyone signs a 2-year deal. And also with the loans, we want to come away from needing 5 loans. We've needed them again this year, but I think the bigger picture for us is that if we start to get players that are on the longer term contracts and doing well for us, that we can then fetch less loans in and fetch players in that, because all we see at the moment, or a lot of what we see at the moment, we make players better, they go back to their club, and you know, someone like Charlie Kelman, we've made him into that player and he gets sold for £3.5 million, and we don't get nothing of it, which is, you know, that's we know what it is, we know what we signed up to when we start, but we want to start fetching players in to build our own player like a Charlie Kelman, and then us sell him and then reinvest that into the squad like we did with Ethan Galbraith. You know, they gave Ethan Galbraith money. People have to understand that even though Ethan went for over £1 million, he's paid in 3 payments. So you don't get all of it at the front end to say, well, let's go and spend it now. It's split into 3 different payments over the length of Ethan's contract, and we get bits of it that we can reinvest into the football club, and that's what happens. So I hear some murmurings about what's happened with the money. The money's been reinvested. The money has gone back into the squad, and it's only a third of the money that we've received so far from Ethan Galbraith and from Jordan Brown. So, yeah, it's the project of if we could do it 75% of the players stay put and we only change 25%, that would be ideal. But you can't just go from like this year of doing 60% and then, you know, and only keeping 40% and changing 60%. You ain't going to change that around in one turn. So a bit like we are as a club and a bit like we've been over the period that we've been here, we've always built slowly and always got better. And that's what we need to do with our recruitment and our players is to make sure that we're doing less and less changing around, because it's really, really hard for people like myself that's got to do it, but also for Richie to, you know, he's got 15 new players, 12 from last year, and then people say, oh, you're not really started that great. Of course we ain't. We're still not gelled as a team. Half these players don't really know each other yet. But Richie's we had a couple of tunes out of them so far, and I'd ask people to, you know, maybe go back and think about the players that they loved at the end of last season. For instance, the Jamie Donnelly. Jamie Donnelly didn't get in the side for the first 2 months. You know what I mean? Then he grasped what we needed and what was required of him, and then Richie got him to perform like he did. Charlie Kelman, most of his goals come after Christmas. So I'm very confident where we're going. I'm very confident what we're doing. Are we building it to be better? Yes, because, you know, I don't want to be doing 15 signings every summer. It's too much. It is too much, but it's too much not just for me, but also for the coach that's working with them.
Is it fair to say that this summer we're almost laying one of the first bricks of building that solid foundation for the continuity to have the gelling, have the bedding in period there already? Is that?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I really do think that's a fair assessment, because I think a bit like the football club, you know, we're putting foundations down to make ourselves bigger, i.e. new stadium and where we're going to go and how we're going to do it. And the team needs to grow. After sitting down with both Nigel and David and other board members, the team needs to grow the same way as the club grows. So in terms of, it's no good having the club grow and we're going to go and move into this brand new stadium if the playing side doesn't keep up with that. By improving each year, which, as I say, we have done since 2017. I think there was a couple of places blip once, but we've always improved. But we're now finished 6th in League One. So the improvement is to go somewhere where we ain't been for 40 years. You know, I think the top 2 leagues have not been seen anywhere near it. But do I see that there's building blocks that are being put in place to get us into that standard, into the championship? Yes, I do, and I think that comes along with the team. But it ain't going to be. Now, some clubs go into it, and someone comes in and chucks a bucket load of money to go and buy players and get you up. But it's not sustainable, and it's not a long-term way of creating. We have to do it slowly. We have to build slowly, and have a belief in what we're building into. And I think that's all aligned from board all the way down to through me, through Richie, through the coaching staff, and into the players.
You touched on the loans a minute ago. I'm sure everyone will agree that we've used them really effectively in recent years. We are, I think, in future looking to get away from the reliance on them. But why are they still important to us? And two, why is it important that, as you said a minute ago, people remember that the Jamie Donnelly of exactly 12 months ago is different to the Jamie Donnelly that finished the season there?
Yeah, I think that the loan market, you get value. You know, you do get value because you're getting sometimes people that are on a big money at the places they are, and you take them. But you take the risk of them getting up to speed of being first team football. So that's the risk. Most of them are younger players that are coming into you, and some grasp it quickly. Some take a little bit of time to grasp it, and some never grasp it. That's the truth of it. But there's always the value in them. But the value, I feel, longer term is to have less of them and have our own players. But for now, we need it this year. You know, we need it this season. Next season, maybe a bit different. As I say, we've got some players with odd contracts, and what I mean by that is 1, 3, 5. You know what I mean? And so it ain't all 2 years. Where, as I say, that you lose 50% of them. We've got 3 or 4 players that have got more than a 2-year contract, which has never been seen here before. I've never given out anything but 2-year contracts. But now, because we can see the bigger picture and the club see the bigger picture, if you're fetching good players in, you've got to be offering them 3 and 4-year contracts, or 3 plus 1, you know, in terms of an option year. But it's weird, and the market of the loans is getting harder because people are approaching us now, because we've done so well. Richie's done so well with the players. People nowadays, if you know, we get approached by a lot of the top clubs that come to us and say, "Are you looking for anything on loan?" Because they've seen the Jamie Donnellys, they've seen the Charlie Kelmans, you know, and players that were developed before. So we are getting more offered to us. We're getting a better quality because people trust us to trust Richie and the club to look after their players. Because one thing about this football club, you get treated right whenever you come here. Most of the players that come here love it and want to come back. So it's a trust thing, and now we don't have to. Where before we'd have to put the presentation together about coming to our football club. Our football club speaks for itself if we show the evidence of our loan work over the last few years.
Player came in this morning, Dom Ballard. He's one of those ones that you just mentioned, signed a 3-year with an option of a 4th year. What's he going to bring to our forward line?
Dom is a really, really good player, a young player, been in the England setup for the last 4 years, so there's quality there. Not quite broke through where he was at Southampton and was getting frustrated with it. We see a little bit of maybe Kelman, Charlie, the first time round, you know, when he come in and was about us. He will stretch defenders, he will stretch teams, he would look for the ball in behind. He's a good finisher. I think that when you look at his loan record or his goals ratio, I don't think it's where he should be. We've looked at him and he is a good finisher. He scored plenty of goals in 21 level. He scored plenty of goals for England. But when he's gone into the first team scenario, I think some of the clubs not quite fitted what he wants. Richie looks at him. Part of Richie's requirement is you've got to be first on the press. You know, we all remember Charlie that presses and then everyone follows down. And Dom's very good at that. And he's trained for the first time this morning. He will be involved tomorrow. And and I think it'd be someone that'd be exciting for us, and also gives us a little bit of breathing space with Aaron Connolly. Really, our only, even though we've played other people as nines, Aaron's our only really 9, but we feel that Aaron can play as a 10 or 11 actually. Aaron's played, so it gives us another 9. Are we still a 9 short? Probably, but that's because of the situation with Alfie Lloyd. You know, Alfie come in and unfortunately got injured in the first days of training, and he's going to be back around the November time, I would say. So again, then that would put you 3 up there in terms of them fighting for each other. But they can all play in different areas. But as I say, Dom comes in as a second person that if you ask them to pick their best position, he would say 9 first. Aaron Connolly would say 9. He might say 10, Aaron Connolly, but he would definitely say 9 or 10. But there ain't many out, like you've got Sonny that can play as a 9, but would say 7, 9. You know what I mean? So his first number is 9, can lead the line, allows us to free up Aaron in other areas, but also allows us to Aaron to not have to play every minute of every game. You know, you're looking round and your centre forward is one of the players. If you watch any football, the centre forward is normally the one that comes off. With Aaron at the moment, he's had to stay on there because we haven't really got a replacement. So that will help him as well to keep him fresh.
It's been more or less constant improvement in terms of league finish since 2017. As you said a minute ago, the higher you go, the harder it gets. How do we go about trying to continue that progress this season?
The thing is, if we turn around and said that, you know, if I turned around and said, "Oh, we come 6th last year, we can't do no better," I might as well retire and go. You know what I mean? And Richie might have not signed here. And if Richie didn't think we could get higher than 6, he wouldn't have stayed at the football club. So I think what we do is doing what we're doing. We're getting better quality of players. We need to integrate the players because it's been different times. I think there'll be no one more pleased than the window slamming shut than I'll be pleased because it gives me a bit of relaxation time. Not a lot, but a little bit. But Richie, because Richie now he's got who's ever in the building come tomorrow morning, they're here till January, unless it's a young lad that's going to go out to the National League on loan. But the bulk of your squad is going to be here till January, and that gives Richie 4 months to build what he's built here before. You know, and I've got no hesitation to know this team's going to finish well this season. You know, it's been early. The results have been. We've not hit the heights yet, even though we've picked up more points than this stage of last season. I still felt I felt we played better for the first 6 games of last season. I'm honest with you, we lost games when I thought we played okay. This year we've won games, we've won a couple of ugly games, and it ain't quite flowed yet. It ain't quite got it what it is. And Richie, you can see Richie getting frustrated with it. And like I will always say to supporters, give it time, judge players. If you're going to compare a loan player that's coming this year to a loan player we had last year, like a Jamie Donnelly, don't compare it now. Because if you look at where Jamie was now to where that player you may be talking about, whoever the player is on loan, judge it at the end of the season. See where the squad is at the end of the season. See where we are at the end of the season, and then judge everybody with a view of everything. And you know, we was in the bottom 4 come Christmas time, and we ended up in the playoffs. So it's. What I liked about Saturday more than anything, even though it was a poor performance, and I felt it was a poor performance, I don't see fans that are walking away and no one clapping our team when they walk around now. They know there's a project here. They've seen it before, and they trust in what we're doing. And that's what I'd ask them to trust me in terms of what we provide, Richie and the players, to buy into where we all want to be successful. I'd love to, have a bash at the playoffs or get a chance to get the championship. Now, people might be a bit too early, but the be-all and end-all is never turn it away, and don't be surprised by anything that we do this season.
And just lastly then, Lingy, other than taking a little bit of a breather, what comes next for a recruitment team once a window closes?
Yeah, I've not had a holiday for a year. So I tend to take 10 days in Cyprus once the window shuts. So I've got that to look forward to with my family, which I'm really looking forward to after not being away from a year. But that doesn't stop anything. I'm in Cyprus for 10 days. I miss a couple of games of football. But that's when I've feel it's the right time for me to take my break. But the recruitment team who are sitting downstairs now, well, you know, you've got a couple of new people in there with Dan McClune and Joe Austin. We're now preparing for January, you know, and what beyond January comes up, you know, what comes beyond the January market, and the minute this one shuts, you got to keep working, and because we now got a bit bigger recruitment team, it allows us to go and watch players as well. When Dan come in late, and it's difficult, you know. Some of the players that people don't get this bit, but some of the players that was interested in near the end to take on loan were young strikers that were in championship teams. But they're, once the season starts, pre-season you see them. Once the season starts, they're on the bench. You know, if they're not on the bench, we ain't going to get them. And so it's really hard to watch players. And now's the time where you've got a big block, say the new recruitment with Dan and Joe, to get their teeth into it and keep us building into a successful recruitment that leads to success on the football pitch.